Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. My name is Paolo Padua. I am a product marketing manager here at Lucidworks, and it is my absolute pleasure to walk you through today's session on improving conversational experiences with intelligent fallback responses. For this presentation, we'll be covering fallback for chatbots and virtual assistants, their untapped versatility and the values it delivers, then wrap it up with an approach that enables businesses to create smarter fallback responses. So without further ado, let's get started. First things first, what's a fallback? Fallback for conversational systems is an automated response for undefined user utterances in a conversational workflow. They're initiated whenever a user's natural language query can't be interpreted or mapped to an answer. Typically, fallback responses appear as a general message or a triggered action. Modern chatbots use them today as part of a catch-all tactic to deliver value. Through this approach, a chatbot would map a dead-end query to a general response that would direct users to a customer support agent, FAQ article, or other company resources that can help them find the answers that they need. Having a fallback in place helps chatbots sustain conversations when a misunderstanding occurs and creates value by either directing end users to company resources or connecting the user with a human representative. Although traditional fallback approaches help direct users to resources that potentially hold their answers, it still underutilizes a fallback's full capability of answering a user's query. Fallback intents are incredibly versatile because they don't create complications with conversational workflows and can be set up freely to answer complex natural language queries without being tied to a Q&A pair. However, to answer questions that aren't predefined in a chatbot's conversational workflow, the search engine powering the fallback cadences must be free from a rules-based approach and have the flexibility to search data sets in a more in-depth, granular fashion. The goal of adding intelligence is to work smarter, not harder. Attempting to predict every future question and answer creates excessive amounts of unnecessary workflows and conditional logic, turning conversational frameworks into a nightmare to maintain. Because we're focusing on adding intelligence to a fallback, we can ensure that there is no complications to current conversational workflows and even surface answers to questions that would usually lead users to dead-end results. But how exactly do we do this? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it all boils down to the search engine powering your fallback sequences. Conversational systems today use a traditional text-based approach to deliver quick, semi-intelligent conversations that answers common questions. To do this approach pulls results by matching words and their variants across documents stored in an inverted index, which is a highly effective method in answering questions that have been predefined. However, when it comes to addressing the contextual complexity of interpreting a natural language query, this traditional approach falls short and won't cut it. To solve this dilemma, the most practical approach in solving complex natural language questions is using semantic vector search. Semantic vector search uses a combination of advanced deep learning techniques to understand the interests and tasks behind a user's query in a more robust and relevant way. It empowers people to ask their natural language questions and get accurate answers back. Semantic vector search is able to do that with the help of dense vector spaces. A dense vector space is used to uncover what items are relevant to a query based on the contextual information surrounding them. It does this by encoding queries, documents, and products into a shared vector space and groups the query with items sharing similar relationships and concepts. A dense vector space, the ability to uncover user intent, tremendously helps chatbots map an incoming query to an answer that shares that same space. With this in place, we can gain depth in our data and understand users by their true intents and return information that aligns with what they really want. With this all said, it's important to note that there's no one model to rule them all. A semantic vector search should be used in harmony with a lexical approach. Now, let's transition to a visual example. What you see on the screen is a mock example of a rules-based approach to a conversational workflow of a guest seeking information about their hotel reservation. The blue bubble signifies the guest, green represents the intent detected, and yellow represents the chatbot's response. After they've exchanged hellos, the user utters, "When will my room be ready?" which is then mapped to a predefined workflow intent labeled room status that then kicks off a conversational sequence that calls for the chatbot to gather input parameters from the user to identify the individual. In this case, the parameters used is a phone number, which is then used to trigger a fulfillment request to surface information around that particular user's room status. Now, this is great for frequently asked questions where you can predict the sequences, but what if a user asks a question that's not predefined? Let's say the same person wants to know what to do around the area during their visit. Their intent can be asked in a multitude of different ways. It can be brief, like any activities, or something more distinguishable, like what can I do here? Or maybe they have a lot of pop culture references in their terminology and vocabulary, so they're asking things like what's popping around here. Because this question isn't predefined, the workflow engine doesn't know what to do with it. But have no fear, fallback is here. This is where fallback intent is triggered and where the magic occurs. When combined with semantic vector search, the chatbot can interpret the question and deliver a contextual answer using a pre-trained model that contains user behavior data and the different variations a question is asked. The incoming query is then encoded and sent to a vector space. From there, the query is grouped with information and content that shares similar concepts and relationships, making it easier to decipher what pieces of information is relevant to a user's query. So ultimately, in this case, the chatbot may return answers like a 5-star restaurant or local show, whatever there is something to do, an activity within that area based on the data that's captured in the model used. Here at Lucidworks, we've learned how to use both approaches to prevent conversations from going off track or hitting conversational dead ends. At a high level, we enhance our customers' rule-based techniques so that when a query comes in, it goes through a series of tools and analyzers to pinpoint answers in a primary collection that uses an inverted index. If no precise answers are found, we take the query through a vector space to identify close proximity matches based on similar relationships and contextual meaning to return a response that truly aligns with the user's intent. Our Smart Answers solution offers a unique semantic-powered fallback search for chatbots and virtual assistants. The solution makes it possible for conversational systems to understand and answer natural language searches that aren't defined in a conversational framework. With this solution in place, end users feel understood and heard as chatbots deliver relevant contextual answers and never a zero result. Admins find it easy to maintain conversational frameworks as paths are cleaner with less conditional logics in place. And businesses thrive as they experience improved self-service and call deflection rates. Smart Answers enables chatbots to deliver immediate contextual answers 24/7, 365 days a year. And now, before we part ways, I wanted to give you all a quick recap on this session. Again, this session was focused on fallback responses for chatbots and virtual assistants. They're initiated when an undefined user utterance occurs in a chatbot conversation and is used to help maintain a conversation when miscommunication arises. Typically, fallback responses are general messages or triggered actions that direct users to a support team or company resources instead of giving an actual answer to a user's question. When we tap into a chatbot's full fallback versatility with semantic vector search, we enable stronger NLP, deliver immediate contextual answers for complex questions that aren't defined in your chatbot's conversational workflow, also drastically alleviates maintenance efforts from admins as it reduces the number of predetermined workflows and conditional logic needed. And last but not least, semantic-powered fallback search enables chatbots with more depth of understanding to prevent conversational dead ends and 0 results for natural language questions. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending this session and being a part of Activate. If you have any questions, please feel free to join our Q&A after this session or contact us at our Lucidworks website. We hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions available, and be sure not to miss our Smart Rank session where you will give an early look at our new browse solution for navigation menus. We hope you have a wonderful day and we see you soon.